pitch meeting. Thank you, Gerald. The goals of our first pitch meeting: learn the basics of the Junior Giants program, understand what's needed from you as a parent or guardian, and learn where to find more information. If you excuse the cough, I'm getting through it. So what is the Junior Giants? Free, so no fees, no fundraising. 29 years of doing this, really an incredible program. Super proud to be a part of it. Non-competitive, so we're not keeping score. There's no standings, there's no playoffs, no champions. It's co-ed, so for the baseball divisions, boys and girls will play together. We'll also have a softball division where it's just for girls. In softball, we just had 2 teams last year. We have 8 this year. And we're hoping to build upon that in the future. And really what sets the Junior Giants apart is the character development aspect of it. So each week we'll have a separate theme that they'll call what we'll call a word of the week. It focuses on health, education, bullying prevention, leadership, teamwork, integrity, all those kinds of things, and we'll get into that later in the presentation. The big picture: Junior Giants is a program of the Giants Community Fund. The league is hosted proudly by the San Francisco Recreation and Parks Department. Here are the divisions. This call is specifically for the 7 to 9-year-olds, but we have 5 to 6-year-olds, 7 to 9-year-olds, and 10 to 13-year-olds in both co-ed baseball and in girls softball. And this is the hierarchy of the league. I'm the commissioner. My name is Nate Birnbaum, by the way. I'm with the Rec and Park Department, been working with the Rec and Park Department for 8 years, and have been doing this sort of work for most of my adult life in various capacities. I'm a Cubs fan, grew up in Chicago, been in the Bay Area for 22 years, and will always be a Cubs fan, but I got to see a lot of my friends experience that kind of joy that only baseball can bring in 2010, 2012, and 2014. None of the kids in our league, mind you, were able to experience that, but hopefully you'll get to sooner rather than later. Then we have the Giants assign us ambassadors to help with the administration of the league every year. I'll introduce them in a second. And then really everything we do is predicated on the work of our volunteers. So coaches, assistant coaches, and team parents, we'll get into that a little bit later. And then all of you as our Junior Giants parents. So again, Nate Birnbaum, SF Rec and Park. I'm the one that sends all the emails. If you have any questions, if you need anything from me, please don't hesitate to email. I'm also super honored to have as a co-commissioner this year, Rochelle Henley, also with this SF Rec and Park Department, and she's going to be focused solely on our softball division. Rochelle, could you say a few words for us?
Good morning, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing you all out in the field. I was born in San Francisco, raised in South San Francisco, played baseball as a youth, and had the opportunity to play high school softball and college softball, and then had about 3 years of professional baseball later on in my life. So I've been around baseball and coaching for over 30 years. I've been with the rec department for over 25. So I'm here to help. I'm here to support you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you out on the field. Please make sure that you come over and introduce yourself. I'm all about giving girls opportunities, and I love to see them playing out with the Junior Giants in baseball and softball. So I'm here to help and support you along the way. See you on the field.
Thank you, Rochelle. And then I'd be remiss to not also introduce my supervisor and the former commissioner of the Junior Giants for many years, Mr. Gerald Reeder, really one of the most well-respected coaches in all of San Francisco for many, many years, and really blessed to have him as a resource throughout all of this. Thank you, Gerald. Our Junior Giants ambassadors. This is really an integral part of what we do. They help with just about everything, and these last 3 weeks have been really amazing to see them step up and blossom and help us get ready for the season. Bella Lupino, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Bella. I'm from San Francisco. I go to school in LA. I go to Loyola Marymount. I'm really excited for the season. I love Junior Giants and everything that it stands for. And I hope you guys are as excited as I am. And I'll pass it to Julia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julia. I was also born and raised in San Francisco, and I go to school at San Diego State. I'm going to be a senior next year, but I'm excited to be back in the city for the summer. This is my first time as a Junior Giants ambassador, so I'm also very, very excited.
Well, thank you guys both so much. And Jesse actually won't be joining us. Sorry about that. So what you can, who you should ask, what questions you might have. So if you have questions related to your specific practices and games and WOW pack items, WOW stands for Word of the Week. That's a great thing to go to your coach or team parent. The ambassadors are spearheading the effort of putting the uniforms together. Our equipment bags are just about ready to give to the coaches. They'll be administering surveys to coaches and parents and players later on in the season, and also Giants tickets as they become available. As the commissioner, I'll be dealing mostly with the volunteers and the rosters and the actual game schedule. But really the best way to get answers about answers for anything that you need would be to respond, would be to send an email to the same address that provided you with a link to be on this call. So sfrpd.jrgiants@sfgov.org. And incidentally, if you have any questions that we don't cover or that you'd like to know, feel free to put them in the chat. And Julie is going to be keeping track of everything. And at the end of our presentation, we'll go through and answer everything one by one. So, basic schedule. Each team will have a practice and a game each week. Games will be on Saturdays at Crocker Amazon. First games Saturday, June 18th. Last games Saturday, August 6th. No games on July 2nd. Practices will be just on the weekday evenings. The first practice is the week of June 13th. And let me actually go back to just while I have you here, I sent out the schedule to everybody. I got a little bit of feedback, so some of you were having trouble reading it. If you're reading it from your phone, you got to make sure that you hold your phone sideways so you can see all the information. A couple people sent emails in saying it looked like their team was playing 3 times per week. Everybody just plays once. And so if you look at week 1, let's go to co-ed minors baseball, 7 to 9 years old. Hopefully everybody can see this. Up here on the left, it says Crocker Amazon diamond number 4. That's where the game is at Crocker Amazon.
Nate, sorry to interrupt you. We see your PowerPoint right now.
Oh.
So maybe unshare and then share again.
Okay. Thank you, Gerald. So go up to here. So this is the original schedule that I sent out a week ago said preliminary. It's now final, and I'll send a note out to everybody confirming that. If you go to minors 7 to 9 years old, baseball, and we look at June 18th, this first game is 8 o'clock on diamond number 4, and it's the Glen Park Wednesday 4 o'clock team versus the Crocker D2 Tuesday 5 team. Keep in mind that the names of the teams, some of them are relatively close to each other, meaning it's the same location, but there might be a different day. There might be a slightly different time. So it's important to find your team. So I would, if you're on Glen Park Wednesday 4 o'clock, Glen Park Wednesday 4 o'clock, you click on that, then you just see just your schedule. And that link, if I copy the browser, that link will be just my schedule. Back to the presentation. Okay. Words of the week. This is really the coolest part, in my opinion, of the Junior Giants. The organization and the players help support us in making sure that the volunteers start conversations with the kids each week on these important topics. And while it can be kind of routine and elementary for us and kind of like obvious, 7, 8, 9 years old, some of these kids don't really have a handle on what this means and how it's going to help them down the road. So health, strike out bullying, education, confidence, teamwork, leadership, and integrity is the other one. So basically at the beginning of each practice, each week there's going to be a different theme, and the head coach is going to engage all of the kids in a discussion in terms of what these themes mean to them. What does it mean to be healthy? What sorts of things are you eating at home? How much are you exercising? How much time are you spending sitting still, staring at a screen? All these things, as you discuss them in the context of a team, it can really, really be helpful in a profound way to a lot of these kids. And if we go through all this work and it really helps just one kid, all of the work is going to be worth it. And I think that all of us on this call understand that it's going to be a whole lot more than just one kid. What is provided? Players will receive a uniform, a double-sided orange and black shirt, gray pants, and a Giants hat. If your child doesn't have a glove or has outgrown theirs, we have plenty. They're all at Crocker Amazon. You are not required to buy any equipment to play. That said, if you have the means, great to have a mitt of their own, great to have a helmet of their own, just from like a sanitary standpoint, though we do have plenty of extra helmets. We do encourage anybody that's going to be playing catcher to have a protective cup. That's not something that we'd be able to provide. Really, at this level, I think every baseball player, every boy should have a protective cup, but it's not necessary unless you're playing in the infield and playing at catcher specifically. It's not something that we're going to check, but for obvious reasons, something that you should take real seriously. We really need to have everybody playing catcher wearing a protective cup. And the other thing too, with the uniforms in years past, for those of you who've joined us in the past, we used to have different color t-shirts for each team. Having reversible jerseys is going to be super, super helpful because it's going to allow the games to go on regardless of the number of kids on either side. In other words, if we have one team that shows up that has 15 players that day, and the other team, because of vacations, a couple of the kids got sick, whatever the case may be, and just 7 kids showed up. Instead of having a game that's 15 on 7, we're going to combine both teams. They'll play 11 on 11. Half the kids will be in black, half the kids will play in orange. Everybody gets more at bats, more defensive chances. And even if you end up only having, let's say, 14 kids, you can for sure play a 7-on-7 game with 7 to 9-year-olds, and again, have a lot more at bats and defensive chances. Incentives. So those that show up and participate in the WOW discussions and participate in the practices and the games, be able to earn water bottles, weekly baseball cards, and backpacks. So let's say you're on the 7 to 9 Glen Park team on Wednesdays. One of the volunteers from that team will come see us at the welcome tent at Crocker Amazon, and we'll ask them, hey, how many kids were at practice this past week? And if that person says, yep, we had 18 kids, then on that first week, we would give 18 water bottles out to all the kids. If you only had 10 kids there, then we'd give out 10 water bottles. These next couple screens show you the season roadmaps that we'll provide to all the kids and to the families. It's something that you can hang up at home. And basically, this is a reading scorecard. So a big part of the Junior Giants is encouraging the kids to read on a regular basis, and there'll be incentives and prizes for doing so. On the other side, this is the round the bases reading. So if you have, if your entire team, if every player on the entire team reads for 720 minutes throughout the season, they'll all be invited to the Junior Giants Festival on Sunday, August 7th at Oracle. The festival is a chance to play on the field at Oracle Park, go through the fun stations related to the words of the week. And the deadline for teams to complete the reading program to qualify is Saturday, July 11th, July 16th. Also, and this is not just yet for this age group, but something to look forward to every year, players going into 8th grade should apply for the Harmon and Sue Burns Scholarship. So 10 recipients are selected each season. Scholars receive $5,000 scholarship, custom jersey, and support and special events throughout high school. Scholarship is available on the Junior Giants app and is due on July 17th. It's a really great thing that the Junior Giants Foundation does each year. We'll also have a Willie Mack Award for one player and one volunteer per league each year. They represent the 4 bases of character development: so leadership, confidence, integrity, and teamwork. They'll be honored at Oracle Park and receive a personalized wooden bat. And we'll be on the lookout for a player and a coach that really exemplifies what we're all about at the Junior Giants. Giants tickets. You will have the opportunity to earn tickets to a Giants game throughout the season through taking an end of season survey. Tickets aren't guaranteed and are subject to availability. What I'll tell you about Giants tickets through the Junior Giants is that it kind of depends on how ticket sales are going for the team, how the Giants are doing. If the Giants are selling out ballparks every day, the tickets are going to kind of be few and far between. But even though the Giants are doing well this year, attendance is kind of down across the board in Major League Baseball, which means there's going to be opportunities to give out Giants tickets. When you take the survey, you'll probably get one if you take it. In addition, we'll get random emails from the Giants saying, hey, would you like some extra tickets? And I can request kind of however many I want, and they can choose to give me them or not. And once I get them, then it's up to me to distribute them to all of you via email, however I choose. So the first crack's going to go to all the volunteers, and then we'll open it up to the rest of the parents, and it's going to be kind of a first come, first serve basis. So just be on the lookout for different emails with opportunities to go to Giants games. And I think that this is an important part of learning how to play baseball. Obviously, the catching and the throwing and the running and being with your teammates and understanding the rules of the game. But if you become a fan of your team and really get chances to go out and watch them play in person, that's one of the best ways to not only learn how to play, but to really fall in love with the game and have it be something that is a part of these kids' lives forever. So I'm 44 years old. Baseball's been a part of my life for 40 seasons now. I grew up going to Wrigley Field. I remember being 6, 7 years old and going to the game with my parents and with my buddies. And it's still a really important part of my life. And I feel, honored and privileged to be in a position to kind of pass that down to the next generation. But that said, if you participate in a program like this and it's limited to just your hour practice and just your hour game, and you're not paying attention to the Giants, and your kids aren't playing catch at home, or working on getting better at hitting and catching and throwing and running, they're not going to get as much out of it as the kids who put in a little bit more time. So player interviews. Your players ages 8 and older may also be interviewed about their junior Giants experience by the ambassadors at the end of the season. Hopefully all of you have figured out how to get the Junior Giants Chat app on your phones. It's a lot of really, really great information on there. Pretty soon we're going to have the roster and schedule information up on there. We were hoping that you'd have the ability to communicate with your team through the app before the season, but we received word last night we're not going to have that capability before the season. It'll be a week or two after it starts. But we will for sure keep you guys posted on what the capabilities of the app are going to be. Same username and password as your MLB username and password. If you forgot it, pretty easy to reset your password. So parent and guardian expectations. So email is used frequently. Check your email at least once a day. This is the slide provided by the Junior Giants. We actually won't be emailing you every day. We're going to email you actually as little as possible, and only with the information that we think that you really need. We don't want to inundate you with more and more emails. But do make sure that you check it on a regular basis, and please be sure to check your spam too. Even though you receive this email and you're on this call, every once in a while, emails do slip into spam somehow, and I need to check mine too on a regular basis. Sometimes your emails come to my spam. Be consistent. We hope that you can come to every practice and game so your child can get the most out of the season. Do your best to arrive on time and understand that parking can be a little bit tricky at some of the different locations. Let your volunteers know as far in advance as possible if you need to miss. And the last one is probably the most important. Please be present at the field, off your phones, watching the kids, enjoying it with them, and enjoying watching your children learn how to play this game. The first point, come to every practice in the game. The reason why we have 18 kids on each roster is because it is summertime and there are other things to come up. There's birthday parties, you got family in town, somebody's not feeling well. It's okay if you can't make every game in practice. Same for the volunteers. It's okay if you can't commit to the entire thing. But we ask that you do your best, to get there as much as you possibly can. So we don't ask for any financial support, but we do need your time. So right now we've got somewhere between 140 and 150 volunteers signed up. We're probably going to need in the neighborhood of 200, 250. And every year, this is kind of how it works. Right around the first pitch meeting, we've got, probably hundreds of parents who are willing and able and certainly more than capable of stepping up to volunteer. But you've got other stuff going on and, the timing is tough. We get that. And you're just kind of holding out to wait for other people to step up first. We hope that you'll decide to step up and help. And that's as a team parent who would kind of help to make sure that everybody knows where and when to be, and helps to make sure that the team has their WOW material, that you're monitoring the reading program for all the kids. The assistant coaches are going to be there to volunteer. They're going to be there to pitch. They can throw strikes. They're going to coach first base, coach third base. They're going to run the different stations to practice. And then the head coach is going to kind of plan the practices, manage the games, and be in charge of kind of the baseball end of it. So here, we go back to the volunteers. So in order to volunteer, and actually let me get to show you one other thing here. So one of the questions that comes up, this spreadsheet, there's a link to it at the top of the registration site, and I sent this to everybody a few times over the past month or so. This is a breakdown of all the teams. The red teams are full, the green teams, there's a little bit of room. And then it shows how many coaches we have signed up so far. Okay, so if you're on the Glen Park Wednesday 4 o'clock team, for example, so far, and I haven't checked it since last night, we haven't had anybody step up. And the question comes up, well, what's going to actually happen to my team if nobody steps up? And the short answer is, it's never happened before. Somebody always steps up. We always make it work. In the off chance that just nobody steps up and nobody's available to, let's say this Croc Ramazan diamond number 2 Tuesday 5 o'clock team, what would end up happening is that team just wouldn't have a practice during the week. They would just come, we would have the kids come during the games, and we would have staff available to help make sure the kids could play the games. But we just don't have the capacity to provide coaches during the week. In order to volunteer, you would need to go to, let me get back to the, In order to volunteer, you'd go to gojuniorgiants.org. You'd select the SF Rec and Park registration option, and then you'd see a list of the different teams that are available, and you would just scroll down until you see the volunteer coach registration option and sign up there, follow all the steps. The Giants will then send you an automatic email with a link to go through your background check. And I'll send you a follow-up email with an invitation to join us for our separate volunteer Zoom meeting on Monday and our in-person coach training on Thursday evening at Crocker Amazon. So embrace the Junior Giants philosophy. Keeping score is not a part of what we do. The note here in the thing says, ask how you can help rather than complain. I see what they're trying to say here. If you do have a complaint, come to me. Feel free to send me that email. But if there's a way for you to help, as a volunteer, please follow that process and come and join us. Be sure to follow the season roadmap, talk about the word of the week at home with your kid, and encourage your child to participate. Like I said, if you're just focusing on the WOW theme and the baseball just for that practice and just for that game, you're not going to get as much out of the experiences as kids that really embrace it at home too. Code of ethics, cheer for both teams, no inappropriate language, refrain from repeating stereotypes or voicing prejudiced thoughts, don't demean coaches, players, etc. No tobacco, cannabis, alcohol at the fields. Weather, we may face weather that affects our ability to play outside. I hope that we don't have to deal with the smoke again this summer. Whether or not we cancel depends on whether or not the city actually closes the field for that day. So if the field gets closed and we need to cancel, we'll let everybody know as soon as we know via email. Unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to make up any practices or games that get canceled. Health and safety. Here's how we'll keep everyone safe. From a COVID standpoint, if your child or anyone in your family tests positive for COVID, please let your coach and the commissioner know ASAP. Same as every other program that you're all in. We've all been doing this for 2.5 years. Depending on whatever the circumstances are, we'll let you know how to proceed and let your team know how to proceed. If you're not feeling well, like I'm not feeling well right now, and I'm been tested, I'm fine, but just kind of nagging cough. Please don't come to the ballpark if you're not feeling well, or if you've been exposed, or if you obviously have tested positive. When possible, practice social distancing, wash your hands, and if you wish, wear a mask. I've got a little baby at home struggling with a cough. If you meet me, I'm going to be wearing a mask in person. If even though the Department of Public Health guidelines right now do not require people to wear a mask when outside, it's your choice. And I'm certainly not going to judge anybody one way or the other. Going forward, how will I know which team I'm on, who our coaches, our schedule, etc.? So your team, you chose your team when you registered. And when you registered, you would have received an automatic email from League Apps, like a little receipt. Your team name is literally the location, date, and time of your practice. And we're going to send a follow-up email after this that has a link to the directions for each field. I know there's got to be there's some parents who are new to the area that might not know where all the different rec centers are throughout San Francisco. You'll be able to see the names of your volunteers on your Junior Giants app. We've emailed you the schedule. The Junior Giants app was supposed to be able to allow you to communicate. I think I already mentioned this before. That'll be ready in the next couple of weeks. Important dates. So everybody that signed up to be a volunteer got a follow-up email from me with a link to our Zoom meeting on Monday night, just for the volunteers. And then we have an in-person coaches clinic on Thursday, June 9th. And I already checked that none of these dates conflict with the Warriors games, thankfully. And we'll have one separate clinic for softball and one separate clinic for baseball. Again, practices start the week of June 13th, games start June 18th, season ends Saturday, August 6th. One small point too about the games, and when we send a link to all the different addresses for the practice sites, we'll send another reminder to everybody that spells out where each of the 8 diamonds are at Crocker Amazon. If you haven't been to Crocker Amazon, it's a pretty big complex, but you'll need to go, you'll want to park in the main parking lot off of Moscow Street. So if I'm coming off of Geneva, turn onto Moscow, and I'll see the tennis courts and basketball courts on my right. You'll see the baseball stadium. You go all the way down and you'll see the fire station on your left. Directly across from the fire station is the entrance to the parking lot. You go into the parking lot. Just to your left is Diamond 3. You go to the edge of the parking lot. Each Saturday, we're going to have a big tent at the base of the parking lot with a series of tables behind it with boxes of balls, extra gloves, extra helmets, the different prizes for that week. And we'll be there ready to answer your questions. And I think that usually each year we're going to have a lot more questions those first couple of weeks when people are coming to Crocker for the first time. But that's going to be the central meeting point if you have any questions. So the next steps, if you haven't already, download the Junior Giants app and explore it. There's a lot of really good information on there, including the Junior Giants University, Parents 101. And again, sign up to volunteer. Social media, if you are so inclined, these are the different addresses for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We encourage you to share photos throughout the season. Okay, and so before we get into the questions, I hope that you've learned the basics of how it works, understand what's needed from me as a parent and guardian, and learn where to find more information. And before I go any further, and this is just particular to the 7 to 9-year-old group, this is going to be coach pitch division. So the ability of one of your coaches to consistently throw strikes is key. So if you think you might be that person, start working on it. Start working on your ability to throw strikes, and we'll talk a lot about that at the training next week too. I'll stop sharing my screen. And now I can kind of see all of you. Thanks again for being here. And Julia, I haven't had a chance to look at the chat at all. Is there anything that I missed or any questions that I can answer?
If people have extra like gloves or equipment to like donate, where can they do that?
It's a good question. You can bring it to Crocker Amazon. So we've got so much equipment. But yeah, if you've got extra stuff you'd like to donate, by all means, thank you so much, and just bring it to Crocker Amazon.
Will the kids in these leagues, the 7 to 9, learn how to pitch?
No. I mean, you can work on that during practices, but we will not have the kids pitch at all during the games for the 7 to 9-year-old games.
If someone already has baseball pants, so they don't need them for their kid, how do they contact the coach for that?
Say that one more time.
Like they already have pants, so they won't need them for the season. Who do they tell that to?
I would say that if your child is playing the right way, they should destroy their baseball pants, and you should need new baseball pants soon. So I would accept the new ones that are coming in, and encourage your child to effectively destroy the current ones that they have.
What if someone wants to switch their kid to a team?
I'm happy to switch your child to any team that has room. I won't ask anybody to give up their spot on a team that is full, though. And full is the team with 18 players. If after a couple weeks, if somebody drops out and there's a team that has 17, and you see that there's a spot open when you go to the registration, you can send me a quick email, and if that spot's there, I'm happy to transfer them over.
For COVID stuff, does stepping away from games and stuff include close contacts?
Not necessarily. If you are exhibiting symptoms, or if you have tested positive, please don't come. But if you're, don't want to get into the weeds of this, but like if you, what is close contact? For how long? Who is it? There's so many variables to it. I would just, if you're on the fence and not sure whether or not you should come, I would err on the side of caution. But as a general rule, if you're not exhibiting any symptoms and you haven't tested positive, you should be free to play.
I just want to say in general, a lot of people are asking, where do they get the clothes and equipment? That will all be provided.
Right. So we're going to provide a team bag with all the equipment and the jerseys, pants, and hats to one of the volunteers of each of the team. And then the volunteers for that team, they'll distribute the uniforms to the kids at the first practice or before the first game. And I should say too, while I have you here, we last year ended up with like roughly 850 kids. Prior to the pandemic, I think we would top out at like 1,000 each year. And this year we just kind of blew through all of our projections. We're going to be pretty close to 1,200 kids, which means what we had initially ordered was not enough. So we, weeks ago saw this coming and ordered more stuff. So we're waiting for it. It's going to be coming in the next, 7 to 10 days, and we're going to have everything ready for everybody, certainly before the first game.
Is parking tough?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have 1,200 kids showing up between 8 and 5 o'clock each Saturday at various times. So parking can be a little bit tricky, but there is it's a pretty huge parking lot at Crocker Amazon, and there's lots of parking in the neighborhood, in the surrounding areas. You just have to be a little bit patient. And I think that it's important, if you're able to drop your child off with a parent or with teammates, or have a parent and multiple kids walk to the field together while the other parent is parking the car. Also, if let's say that your game starts at 10 and you're having a little bit of trouble parking, we're going to tell the players and the coaches that are there at 10 to just go ahead and start the game. And if you walk up at 10:15, you could still play, right? You just walk up and you'll go to the end of the batting order, or if your team is in the field, you'll just go out to the field. It's okay if you walk in a little bit late. We'd love for everybody to be there at the start of each game, but 33 games in a day on 8 diamonds, anywhere in San Francisco, parking can be a challenge. So we get it if you're a little bit late.
What time is the coaches clinic on June 9th? And is it in person?
It is in person at Crocker Amazon at 6 o'clock. Everybody who's registered has received the invitation to that. And if you hopefully decide to register after this call, I'll send you the details for that too.
I believe I heard that we could get an email for exact practice location. Just want to confirm that info is correct.
Yeah, so if you're still not sure which team you're on, again, I would search for whatever automatic email you receive from League Apps immediately after your registration. If you can't find that and you're not sure, let me know and I can tell you which team you're on. I will send in the next communication that we send to everybody a breakdown of where to go for each location, and also a breakdown for where each diamond is within Crocker Amazon.
If someone's the only coach for their team and they signed up as an assistant coach, will they be moved to a head coach position?
Likely, yes. We're hoping that more people will step up. And I would say that if you are one of the only volunteers when it comes to that first practice, we're going to ask everybody to kind of look the parents in the eye that are actually there and that are going to be there each week and ask them for their help. And I think that, even if you don't have a ton of experience, and even if you're, because it's not easy to coach a youth baseball team, especially if there's a bunch of kids that haven't played before. But from a safety standpoint, having as many eyes on the field is absolutely crucial. We can't have any kids get hit with a bat. We can't have the players kind of set up in a way where if they're playing catch, that errant throws are going to put people in danger. And if you have 18 kids out there that are relatively new to the game and just 1 or 2 adults that have gone through the background check that are approved to be on the field watching, that's just not enough. It's just not enough. And it is really so quick and so easy to go through the Junior Giants background check process and formally step up to help. Every year we get to this point, and every year we get an influx in the final days leading up to the season. So I'm not concerned about it. I'm sure we're going to have plenty of coverage for each team.
With that, if they're not sure how many games they can make, should they still volunteer?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What should the kids wear to practice? And is there anything that they need to prepare themselves clothing or equipment wise?
There's nothing in particular that they need to wear to practice. If they want, they can wear their uniforms. If they want, they can just wear their pants and a t-shirt. That would make sure that it's, appropriate for whatever the weather is. I think I mentioned it earlier, great to wear cleats, not really necessary. But yeah, nothing in particular.
Is Potrero Hill at Jackson Park?
No, Potrero Hill Rec Center is just up the hill from Jackson Park. And I'll send the addresses for every one of them. Potrero Hills, 801 Arkansas Street. It's up on top of the hill. And up on top of the hill, there are 2 diamonds. There's a large diamond and a small diamond. The teams that are practicing in our league will be practicing on the smaller diamond, which is closer to the clubhouse.
So the Junior Giants app won't be ready for a week or so. Is there another way for the team to get the roster in another format?
They'll be able to get the roster through the Junior Giants app before the season. The only capability that we're missing with the Junior Giants app is that you're not going to be able to communicate through the app. They had promised us earlier in the season that it would be ready before the practices begin. We found out late last night that it's just not quite ready. And building apps isn't quite my expertise, so I'm not really sure what goes into that, but I was assured that they're getting closer to having that ready for us. But to answer your question, we're going to provide the contact information for all the teams to the volunteers. The volunteers will be in touch with the teams before the season starts.
And then can you just touch on again what happens if there's no coaches or volunteers for your team?
So again, hasn't happened before. I'm hopeful that it's not going to happen this year. If, for whatever reason, we end up with a team that has nobody that stepped up, what we'll probably do is just that team won't have a weekly practice. The kids will be invited to come and play in the games, and we'll have people at Crocker Amazon, we'll have staff at Crocker Amazon that can help facilitate the games. And, hopefully it doesn't come to that.
I'm trying to register on the Junior Giants app, and the team we signed up for does not show up in the drop-down menu. It only shows teams with available spots. How do I find the team we registered for?
So to register as a volunteer, you wouldn't be registering for any given team. You'd need to scroll down a little bit more and select volunteer coach registration. And then it'll take you through a series of questions. Once you've completed that, the Junior Giants will send you an email with more instructions about how to go through the background check. And I'll send you an email that breaks down what the different roles are, invites you to the Monday volunteer Zoom meeting and the Thursday in-person coaches training if you're coach. The team parents won't be required to go to the in-person coach training, though they're welcome to. The team parents can help on the field as coaches. But if there are enough coaches on a given team, the parent can be off to the side. The team parent, I should say.
She said she's trying to register her son.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's trying to register her son.
Yeah.
So, well, most of the teams are full. A majority, I think that there's probably 65 teams. We might have less than 10 available spots. So any of the teams that are full at this point, she wouldn't be able to register for any of them. But if there are a handful of teams I know that do have room, she can try to register for one of those.
Is there a specific sock color?
No.
We don't provide socks?
Yeah, we don't provide socks, so white or black or orange is fine.
I think that's all the questions right now.
Oh, good. What else? For this age group, the games are 90 minutes. We'd ask that, if it goes a little bit over, that's fine. If it ends a little bit early, that's fine. But you want to keep it as close to 90 minutes as possible, just so we can make sure that the next group has enough time to go in and warm up and that the parking spaces get alleviated. We ask that the kids are ready to play, as often as possible, right at the start of the game, and that as coaches, we're going to instruct everybody to have the games move quickly. So, that last out, the kids are hustling off the field, getting ready to hit. The kids that we're hitting are getting their stuff together, getting their gloves together. They know already where they're supposed to go on the field. And, if you're playing a game and it's kind of thing where there's 3, 4, 5 minutes between innings, in the long term, that's a lot of baseball that they're missing. It should be, like a 20, 30-second turnaround between innings, and really kind of keeping the pace with each at bat. So we have more at bats, we have more defensive chances, we have more baseball. We could have 3 or 4 innings instead of, maybe even like 4 or 5 innings instead of 2 or 3.
Nate, there are a few questions that have come in. Should the kids arrive a certain amount of time before the game to warm up?
I would say no more than half an hour beforehand, because that's when the game prior to them is going to start. If you're playing in the 8 o'clock game, please try not to get there, too much earlier than 7:30.
Is there seating at Crocker Amazon, or should parents bring chairs?
If you're playing in Diamond 1 or Diamond 2, there's seating available. They're kind of like, baseball stadiums with stands. Diamond 3, so your group is going to play mostly on Diamond 2, 3, or 2, 4, and 5. Yeah, I would, for diamond number 4, I would bring your own seat or own blanket to sit on. For diamond 5, there's limited seating available. For diamond 2, you wouldn't need to bring anything. And if you're playing on diamond 3, there's limited seating available.
If people are aware that they're going to miss 2 games already, is that bad? And who did they notify?
Not bad at all. It's summertime. You know that you have other stuff going on. That's why we have such big rosters. It's okay if you can't commit to all of it. And I would just let whoever your volunteers are know as far in advance as possible. And your volunteers really don't need to do anything with that information. In other words, they're going to manage the games based on how many kids that they have there. And if it's 13 or 14, it's not going to make that much of a difference. And even if you don't have enough kids to field a team, the kids are all still going to be able to play, because you'll just flip your jersey around and combine teams with the other team.
Will the spreadsheet or app have the latest info on whether there are openings on teams?
That spreadsheet is pretty close to up to date. There may have been a few changes in the last couple of days. You can always also just go to the registration whenever you want. Go juniorgiants.org, select SF Rec and Park, and go through like you're registering your child, and you'll see which ones are available. And if you see a team that works better for you, that's closer to your home, and there's a spot available, shoot me a quick email and I can just transfer them over. Or you can actually go through and re-register him, and I can remove the other one, although that would be a lot more time consuming for you. I'm happy to do it. It literally, if you send me an email saying that my son Billy Smith would like to move to Moscone at 4:30, and I look and I see that it's open, it take me the better part of 4 seconds to move him over.
Are 7 to 9 player rules available online, and what type of ball are they using?
I will send the rules to everybody. And there'll be a printout of the rules available at the table each week. We'll be using a Wilson soft compression ball. So it's not quite hard ball. It's not quite as soft as a T-ball, but there's plenty of give to it, and it's a lot lighter than a regular baseball.
I don't know if you know the answer to this, but someone asked, my kids are at the Boys and Girls Club summer camp, and I heard they also arrange summer baseball practice training there. Does this conflict with the baseball practice class we're going to start now?
You tell me. I mean, if it depends on what day and time. If you have other opportunities to be on a different team and practice more power to you. That's great. But you know, if you're committed to this and to your teammates, and we would love for you to be at your team's practice as often as you possibly can.
If there's space on a team, can someone still register, and who do they contact?
Yeah, the only way to register is through gojuniorgiants.org. I can't register at anybody on their behalf. So it's not something that you can call in. You would have to go to the website in order to register.
Are the equipment bags for the children to keep, or are they used just for games and practices?
The equipment bags are just for the volunteers to use throughout the season. So either it'll probably be, you know, one of the coaches who will sign that bag out on Thursday this next week before the in-person coach training, and they'll, you know, one of the volunteers will be responsible for bringing the bag to each practice and each game, and then we'll get the bag back at the end of the season. And then at the same time, if let's say you have a team and they have a team bag, and there are we need more mitts. There's a bunch of kids in the team that don't have their own mitt, then they would come to us at the tent before the next game or before the next practice and say, hey, I need, you know, a couple more left-handed mitts. I need another catcher's mitt, or whatever the case may be, and we'll provide that to the volunteers to give to the players.
Is there a limit for the number of players per team to be able to play a game?
No, there's not. So like I said, if one team shows up with 14 kids and another team shows up with 4, there's 18 kids total. You'll have 9 kids in black and 9 kids in orange, and you'll play 9-on-9.
Do the girls softball leagues also use the same ball?
No, that's one of the main differences between the softball and baseball. So softball has like a bigger ball. The older kids will play with a harder softball, kind of an oxymoron. The younger ones will play with a 12-inch kind of soft softball. And then there are special bats that are designed for softball versus baseball as well. And then the other difference between, so the differences between softball and baseball are the ball, the bat, and the way that the ball is pitched. Softball, the pitch is coming from underhand. In baseball, a smaller ball, it's coming from overhand.
Is the Junior Giants app, once it's up and running, the preferred way to contact other parents on the same team?
It will be once that capability is right. And that's the only capability that it currently doesn't have, is the ability to communicate with your teammates and your coaches. And they're working on that as we speak. And as soon as it's ready, we'll let everybody know. But the preferred method until that's ready is going to be old school in person. So everybody has, we know that we start the week of June 13th. You know where and when your practice is going to be. And so you'll be there at the field, and you can introduce yourself to the volunteers, and the volunteers are going to make sure that the kids all know each other's names and that they know who the volunteers are. Volunteers are going to do their best to learn all the kids' names as quickly as possible. And our intent, and this is something that we'll talk about with the coaches next week, is to really help the kids feel like they're a part of a team as quickly as possible, and all the great things that come with that.
And then can you just clarify really fast? So when does practice start, and how do you know when your practices are and when your games are?
Okay. So practices start the week of June 13th. The literal name of your team has the location, day, and time of your practice. If you don't know what the name of your team is, the only email probably that you've received from League Apps came immediately after you registered and has a receipt for which team you're on. If you can't find that, send me an email and I'll tell you which team you're on. The schedule we emailed to everybody about a week ago just became final today. I'll resend that link to everybody when I send the follow-up after these meetings, and the follow-up after these meetings will include a video of this. And I showed you what the schedule looked like earlier and how to find your team, and it's a pretty user-friendly interface.
Okay, so it starts on the 13th, so if they have a Thursday practice, their first practice is Thursday.
It starts the week of the 13th. So yeah. June 13th is a Monday. So if their team is, Croc Ram is on Thursday 4:30, then their first practice would be Thursday, June 16th.
What's the address for Bayview?
I'll send the addresses for everybody, but that's 3rd Street in Armstrong. That's Casey Jones Playground.
Okay, I think that's all the questions.
Okay. Thank you again, everybody. It's really, especially given what we've all gone through the last 3 years, what we're continuing to go through, to be able to provide something like this for these kids and to be able to provide it at no cost to you is something that I'm super, super proud of. I'm super grateful for all the help from the ambassadors, from Rochelle Henley, from Gerald Reeder, from all of my colleagues with the San Francisco Rec and Park Department, all of the support we've received from management, from the Giants. This is really a cool program, and your kids are going to get out of it what you all put into it. So all the pieces are there, and if we put this whole thing together, and there's one kid that decides, you know what, I really love playing baseball, this is a great thing, or that it sticks with them what it means to have integrity and to live your life that way, the whole thing is worth it. And it's going to be a whole lot more than just one kid that this has that effect on. So thank you for all your support and for your time, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And hopefully the next time I check the volunteer list, we're going to have quite a few more, and we'll see you out on the field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
Thanks, man.